Monday, August 17th, 2020, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So the UK government is looking to bail out the Gordon Gekkos of the world. Who's Gordon Gekko? Well, he was one of the main characters in the film Wall Street from 1987. He was the guy who said, greed is good, right? I'm going to go through this today. I know anger is one of the emotions that are not good for you, not constructive, but this is as close as I get to being really angry in a video, but I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to let it make me angry. I think it's outrageous. I'm going to go over through this story. So why the Gordon Gekkos of the world? Well, because there's a story out in the FT. It says UK looks to extend bailout loans to private equity owned groups. You might think private equities are bona fide business, but personally I don't think they are, and I'll come to that after we look at the markets this morning. I'm a little later. It's 8:13 a.m. London time. We've got spot gold at 1953.20, up just under $9. Range has been 1929 to 1956. Gold and silver still trying to recover from the big sharp drop last week, but we're holding on quite well, I would say, above 1920. That's the key support now for gold. Silver is doing even better. It's up 38 cents at 26.80, up 1.5%. Gold is up just under 0.5%. High's been 27.05. Low has been 25.78. The Dow future is unchanged. S&P futures up slightly. NASDAQ 100 future is up 0.25%. The FTSE in the UK, the FTSE 100, that's down about 8 at 60.82. The currencies, sterling is up 0.2% at 131.09. The euro is at 118.50. That's up slightly as well. And the dollar's down about 0.1% versus the yen at 106.41. We've got WTI crude up 0.75% at 42.60. We're seeing bond yields come off a little bit here. The 10-year yield is back below 0.7. It's at 0.69, down about 2 basis points. So yeah, Gordon Gekko. Some of you or many of you might have seen Wall Street. I highly recommend that movie. It shows exactly what a private equity group is. Private equity is just a euphemism for a leverage buyout. Even Wikipedia talks about that. It says Bloomberg Business Week has called private equity a rebranding of leverage buyout firms after the 1980s. Common investment strategies in private equity include leverage buyouts, venture capital, growth capital, distressed investments, and mezzanine capital. So these are the financial engineers. They will buy companies. They'll strip their assets, and they'll buy that company with debt, loads of debt that are usually forwarded to them or provided to them by the big Wall Street banks, City of London banks. They'll do that. They'll strip the assets of these distressed companies. They'll lumber them with huge amounts of debt. They will restructure it. They'll fire loads of employees. And then a few years later, when the performance of the company improves, they'll sell it to a mug for billions. So they're the kind of people who fly in private jets all around the world. I've got nothing against private jets and people who are able to afford them, but I'm just talking about the private equity crowd here. So this is the kind of people the UK government now is looking to bail out. And of course, they're holding the government kind of to ransom, saying, oh, if you don't bail us out, loads of people are going to be unemployed. But these people apparently, if you read through the article in the FT, which I'll go through a little bit, they're sitting on a cash pile of 2.5 trillion. So why do they need us, the taxpayer, to bail them out? Because that's what it's going to be. It's going to be backed by us, these bailout loans. They're going to be guaranteed not by the state, because the state, as we all know, doesn't have any money. We're the ones who fund the state through our taxes. So let's look at who these private equity groups are. I'm going to look at the top 10 in the world. They might not necessarily be the private equity groups here in the UK, but you'll get an idea of who they are. The top one is the Blackstone Group, founded in 1985, headquartered in New York with offices in London, Hong Kong, Beijing, and Dubai. You've got Neuberger Berman Group, Apollo Global Management, the Carlyle Group. Well, that's an interesting one. That was created actually by the Bush cabal, the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Jay Powell worked for the Carlyle Group for years as well. Who else? John Major, former Prime Minister of the UK. He worked for the Carlyle Group. I think he was the chairman or something of Carlyle Group Europe. I think one of the guys who founded it as well was the Secretary of Defense during the first Gulf War. And I think John Major was given this position basically because he played ball with the Bushes to start the war against Saddam Hussein, the first Gulf War, that is. So you've got KKR, Kravis, Kohlberg, Roberts, multi-billionaire owners of this private equity group. We've got Bain Capital. That's an interesting one. Mitt Romney, that's his private equity group. CVC Partners, Capital Partners, and Warburg Pincus. And if you look through these private equity groups, they're all closely related to the big Wall Street banks and City of London banks and probably Paris, Frankfurt banks. And why is that? Well, because these banks provide them the loans to take over small or distressed companies, to financially engineer them. Michael Milken as well. He was one of the guys who was involved in this kind of operation. So our government here in the UK now is looking to bail these people out at your expense. So let's go through the story here. It says UK looks to extend bailout loans to private equity owned groups. Officials want to help debt-laden companies which employ hundreds of thousands of workers. You see, they're debt-laden because these vultures, because this is basically what they are, these vultures, they come in with cheap credit and they lumber these companies with loads of debt. They strip their assets and now they're left with nothing. And why do they do that? Well, because with a lot of debt, the tax status of these companies and indirectly of the private equity groups is very beneficial to them. They pay no tax. That's the other outrageous thing. They pay no tax. So let's go through the story. The British government is trying to find a way to offer state-backed loans to debt-laden companies owned by private equity groups in the hope of rescuing a swath of the British high street. The Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy Department wants to help private equity-backed groups that employ large numbers of people, such as Pizza Express, Prezzo, or Merlin, the owner of Legoland, without breaching EU state aid rules, according to 4 people involved in the process. What I'm trying to say, and I have sympathy for people who lose their jobs, is that we can't, in a free market, if we're going to have prosperity going forward, we can't keep bailing out failing companies, or else it's going to kill off the whole economy eventually. We need to take the pain. People need to take the pain. Life is about ups and downs. They caution, however, that there is no guarantee the government will find a solution. Private equity-backed companies typically carry high levels of debt to reduce their tax bill, resulting in statutory losses even when they are generating cash. So this is the kind of company that the UK government is thinking about bailing out. Consequently, they have not been able to apply for emergency coronavirus loans since EU rules say companies whose losses exceed 50% of their share capital are ineligible for government support. I'm going to stop here because it says EU rules. I thought we left the EU on January 31st, so what's that got to do with the UK? It's just very confusing. Did we leave or did we not? Opening up access to the loans, which are worth up to 200 million and come with a guarantee that the taxpayer will repay 80% if a company fails, would be controversial. Private equity groups often leave their portfolio companies with only a thin financial cushion. Yeah, because they strip them of all their assets. That's what they do to ride out economic downturns. And the industry is currently sitting on a record $2.5 trillion in dry powder that is waiting to be invested. Well, they've got more dry powder than the UK government. Why are they asking the UK government for a bailout if they're sitting on $2.5 trillion? I mean, this is quite outrageous if the UK government does this. And I'm going to stop at this here. I don't really need to read more to you about the story. I'll put a link to this article in the description. It's from the FT. And unless you subscribe, you won't be able to read it, but some of you might subscribe to the FT. So it's pretty disgusting this, that our taxpayer money could be going to people like Gordon Gekko-like people who fly in private jets, people who are going to be not going through all the difficulties that we'll probably be going through when we go to airports, people who have all their money offshore in tax havens, people who have residences in the nicest places in the world, who are sitting on a pile of 2.5 trillion, and we're supposed to bail them out. I mean, this would be quite outrageous for the government to do, but seeing how these people who run our governments, not only here in the UK, but in the US and other places, are merely stooges, are merely puppets, they will probably go ahead and bail them out. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and all these other platforms below here. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.